In today's video, we're going to go through GTA 6's trailer 2 to go through all of the bits of information that we can see. Now, a good friend of the channel, Alexander, has broken this video down into 666 high resolution frames for us to dive into. In this video, we're just going to explore all of the new stuff we can see in the trailer at a first glance. But in the next video, we'll of course go through the images released by Rockstar. This video is going to be part of a bigger series that I'm going to be doing, breaking down vehicles, tech, locations, and a whole lot more. So if that interests you, please make sure you subscribe with post notifications turned on. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The first few frames are Rockstar's intro. Nothing special to see here, so we can move on. In this first shot, we can see a small set of waterfront houses, most likely the location of Jason's residence. Now firstly, the water is beautiful, and we can see that this overall location ties into this location from the first trailer, as we can see that from the blimp. Now in real life, this blimp is called the Fat Albert. This was used primarily in the 80s as a way of monitoring the waterways magic powder trade from the South Americas. And this shot also brings us a closer introduction to the side of Vice City that's more tranquil in the Keys. This is the part of the map where people drop their boats off into the water, maybe visit boat mechanics, or do some fishing. This is the less touristy side of Vice City. We can also see Brian's marina in the background, and this will become important for pretty much the whole story, but also later on in the trailer. Now in this shot, we're greeted with what appears to be Jason's house. This is a stilted home in the area, which usually serves the purpose of making sure the house doesn't flood during hurricane season. And this little part down here is usually the slipway to drop your boats or park your boats and leave your boats. On the floor we can also see an iguana, and on the roof we can see Jason repairing the roof. Now on the bottom right we can see how far Rockstar's game engine has come. The way ray traced reflections from the puddles look is absolutely incredible. We can also see Jason's vehicle in this shot, and this vehicle looks like it's going to be Jason's primary vehicle. Now throughout all of the trailer, it looks like some elements of this vehicle change. That could be down to having new panels, things being fixed, but we're not really sure. The one thing I will say is this vehicle is of course definitely changed colour from the GTA official artwork. We then get introduced who appears to be the landowner, Brian. From this shot we can see that the vehicles now have window stickers, and you'll see a bit later on that Rockstar are definitely putting more attention into their vehicle customization. Now in this shot we can really see the detail of how dirty vehicles can get, and also how realistic that dirt looks. In Grand Theft Auto 5, vehicles could get dirty, a bit mucky, but it never really looked anything like this. And in the background here we can see a 50s/60s style vehicle, which looks like it's in a state of disrepair. Now we've seen all sorts of references in the 2022 leaks that we'll be able to get kind of classic car parts and pick up car parts at locations, so maybe some of these older vehicles we might be able to fix up and get them running again. That's just speculation, but it would make sense. We can also see that the tyre tracks in the sand/dirt look like they closely resemble the actual tread on the tyres themselves. Now it's really hard to see without other comparisons to other tyres in the game, but this is something that we'll probably have to wait for in future trailers or the game's release. But still, these actual tyre marks are a really nice piece of attention to detail.
What you doing up there?
I'm just fixing some leaks.
Brian asks Jason what he's doing up on the roof, and Jason says that he's just fixing some leaks. This is probably Rockstar nodding towards what happened back in 2022. We can also see Brian kicking up sand when he's walking. Now if anyone's walking on sand in the rest of this trailer, you'll see sand being kicked up, so I won't be mentioning it again. We can also see in the background small cargo tugs, and also a boat which appears to be based off the Regal Commodore, a boat manufacturer based in Florida. Then Brian says this:
I'm just fixing some leaks.
Seriously, dude, you got some time on your hands. I got some properties with paying tenants.
Which suggests that Jason isn't a paying tenant, and is probably there whilst acting as an extra pair of hands for Brian, and essentially being the guy that's responsible for making sure tenants pay their rent on time, and generally being the guy that fixes things up when things go wrong. We can also see in the background of this shot there is a raccoon in the bin. This is something that we saw in the 2022 leaks, but it's nice to see it make it into a cutscene. Now in the background we can actually hear music being played on a radio, and throughout this trailer we'll see things such as AirPods, radios and stuff like that, so this probably means that we can listen to music on the go. During these scenes we can actually hear the wind against the microphone.
Just go get me my checks.
See you, Brian. Love you, Jason.
So Rockstar have really tried to encapsulate a real filming style. This is something that we talked about heavily in trailer 1, but for trailer 2 we're seeing this from an audio perspective as well as a video perspective. In these shots we can actually see the sweat build up on Jason's head, neck and body. This makes the characters feel and look far more realistic. It's a really nice piece of attention to detail and it's executed perfectly. In this shot we can also see a sailing yacht on stilts, and this is clearly being worked on. This ties into the whole lower half of the map being heavily focused around the waterways of Vice City. In this shot we can see Jason walking into his house, and the level of detail in the woodwork is absolutely insane. I don't think I've seen anything like this before in a game. It looks absolutely incredible. There's also a build up of like foliage and trees that have fallen all the way around the decking of the property. This is just another little piece of realism that helps make these locations feel and look more convincing. We can also see a doorbell on the wall, which in this high of a resolution is just really bizarre to see. As a video game, this almost looks like a video. Alongside this, we can tell Rockstar are using global illumination, just based on how light interacts with objects. For a PS5 game, I've never seen anything quite like this before. As Jason opens a door, we can also see how detailed his chest hairs are. This is almost a complete showcase of ultimate character design for Rockstar. Now, before we get into the next shot, I just want to say a brief thank you to today's video sponsor, Private Internet Access. Whether you're playing Grand Theft Auto Online or browsing public Wi-Fi, it's important you protect your internet privacy. Rockstar currently use the peer-to-peer model, and based on Take-Two Interactive's patents, they're going to be using the same system for Grand Theft Auto 6, which comes with a whole set of vulnerabilities. With private internet access, you can game online with great internet speeds by choosing one of their 91 countries or 50 US states. This also has the benefit of allowing you to gain access to websites and services that may not be available in your country. Sometimes when using Netflix, I realize that some other countries have better Netflix programs than the ones in the UK or even the US, so you can just change country by using private internet access. Private internet access works on any device, and you only need one subscription for all of your devices to work on. So if you want to stay protected online, make sure you click the link down in the description. You'll get yourself 83% off and 4 months completely free, which works out at $2.03 a month, which is an amazing deal. So thank you, Private Internet Access, and let's get back to the video. In this shot, there are a few key things to note. Firstly, we have a tattoo on Jason's arm, and as pointed out by my good friend Clean Sanchez, this looks like it could be a military tattoo. We can also see what appears to be a form of smartwatch on Jason's arm, and you'll see this throughout most of the shots of Jason. We can also see that in the mirror of the car, there are more realistic reflections, but also both windows in the car are set at different heights, maybe showing that you could put the windows down in the vehicle and control individual windows. As Jason drives past the woman on the side of the road, we once again hear Rockstar's attention to detail as the audio pans from left to right. But we can also hear a very slight reverberation from the audio hitting objects. This suggests that Rockstar are potentially using a new system for real-world audio reflections, or potentially it's just programmed into the cutscene. It's really hard to tell at this point. As we can see in the background, there appears to be paw prints on the bonnet of this car, which suggests that maybe we'll have more customization options when it comes to things like decals. Also, from Rockstar's statement that they made yesterday, half of this trailer is actually gameplay, so it would be normal gameplay of us driving around and doing stuff with Rockstar's editor moving the camera. I think this shot might be one of those shots, as we can see Jason smiling when someone says something to him. This is kind of Jason interacting with the world around him, the kind of same way that Arthur Morgan did in Red Dead Redemption 2. A really nice piece of attention to detail that just makes the world seem more convincing. In this shot, we can see the amount of detail on the cash machine. We also have this really cool Vice City t-shirt in the background, and I'm assuming that many different shops around the map will of course be selling different clothing like in GTA 5, but Rockstar, please release some of this stuff as merch. We would buy it. We can also see that although Jason slaps this guy around the face, he has a baseball bat in his hand, which probably lends into some of the things that we heard about different ways to actually slap people, hit people, and interact with people in aggressive manners. And in this shot here, we can see the Leonida map, which by the way shows 2 land masses. So maybe we have the main map and another map as well? I don't know guys, you tell me, but this looks pretty incredible. In this shot, as the cash machine opens, we can see that coins have their own individual models and they actually slide out, so they actually have their own physics. In this shot, we can also see a phone number that says 305-555-0145. Now in real life, this isn't a number, but it's entirely possible that this is a cheat code in the game, potentially with Rockstar bringing back the phone number cheat system. And it being on a cash register, potentially this could be a money cheat. Maybe. We can also see the absolute insane amount of detail on the cash in the game. Like, this looks amazing and it's really impressive to see this level of detail this close up on something. Also, as Jason hits the cash register, the whole thing shakes, just making it feel like it is actually its own separate object. In this next shot, we can see that Rockstar are paying huge attention when it comes to vehicle modification. In America, some people hang big nuts from the back of their trucks on a chain as an accessory, and we can see that in the trailer, which really lends itself to more varied vehicle modifications in Grand Theft Auto 6. We can also see that Jason is tapping his thumb on the steering wheel in time with the music. We can also see that the airport is definitely called Vice City International, not Escobar. Even after the first trailer, there was a little bit of speculation on this, but yes, it's definitely Vice City International. And we also have references to things like Ambrosia, which is of course a new area which Rockstar have shown to us. We can also see that our theories about Georgia being featured in the game have come true. Now the two guys sat in the back of the truck, which suggests that maybe people won't just sit inside the vehicles. If vehicles have different ways that people can interact with them in terms of sitting on the back, then of course that's something that we're going to be seeing in the game. We can also see these jet skis being towed, which is just another thing that I am of course stoked about. If you've been following the channel, my goal in the next year or so is to own a boat, so subscribe and maybe you can help me make that happen. There's also another example of really good attention to detail from Rockstar. This truck in front of the car is an older truck, so it has a leaf spring suspension, but you can see the newer trucks don't have the leaf springs underneath, meaning that they've probably got springs or coilovers. Obviously, doesn't really add much value to the game, but it is really cool attention to detail. On the left, we can also see someone working on the roadside, suggesting that Rockstar are really taking the living, breathing world elements of the game a lot more seriously in GTA 6. They did for Red Dead Redemption 2, but it looks like they're taking it to the next level. Now these people assisting at the roadside, like we saw in trailer 1, could be there cleaning up after an accident takes place, or they could be just managing the trees or foliage at the side of the road. But looking on the other side of the road, we also have dirt and debris building up around the edge of the highway. This just makes the game look even more realistic than it did anyway. Now as we get to the end of the shot, we can actually see the silver pickup truck swerving, meaning that the cars in the game may not be working on a complete node system. In Grand Theft Auto 5, cars followed nodes, which essentially meant that they were always on a straight, linear path. This shows that there's a lot more variety in the traffic for Grand Theft Auto 6. Now this shot of Jason working out is a masterpiece. The lighting, the colours, the dynamic range, it's absolutely insane. We can also see a lady in the background walking her dog. We can also see that Jason is wearing AirPods, and this lends into the fact that maybe we can listen to music on the move in GTA 6. We can also see that the sand is actually sticking to his trainers. Like, what? The way Jason's feet cause indentations in the sand really show the levels of detail that Rockstar have gone through here. We're seeing the next generation of gaming and physics in games right now. Even the bottle of water next to the weights. That's just logical realism. Jason's even taken his hat off before he's got onto the weight rack. Even in GTA 5, there's a lot of things that look cool, but they don't have logical realism. When you're working out, you have a bottle of water. The bottle of water is next to Jason. Logic. By the way, I will be saying realism and detail a lot throughout this video. In this shot, we can see Jason carrying some American brewskis, whilst the cat cleans itself on the right hand side. Now I have seen a lot of theories that this is actually a map. I personally don't think it is. It looks like where something's been ripped off the wall, but there is no denying that there is some similar shapes in there to what we've seen in the mapping project, but I don't think this is actually the map. We can also see a guy on the left doing a scratch card, which does suggest potentially a lotto system built into the game, which would actually be really cool. Maybe a new way that we could buy a vehicle even in story mode is just by doing a lottery or a scratch card system. We can also see an alarm pad with the keypad open. This does lend itself to some of the theories that we may be able to break into locations using electronic devices. This is also a reference to some of the stuff that we saw in the leaks. Now, as Jason walks forwards with the beers, we can actually see the beer sloshing around inside the bottles. Now, as the door opens, we can see on the door that there's a sticker that says, "Want to touch it?" And it's a reference to contactless payments. So once again, this lends more into the Apple Pay style systems or contactless payments that we've heard of. But we also have vapes on a window sticker with some vape liquid as well. So maybe we won't just have smoking, maybe we'll also have vaping as well. And of course, we have the homeless guy outside the door. We can also see this guy sat on the bed of his pickup truck, suggesting that NPCs won't just be walking around. One more little thing to mention as well, there's quite a few disabled signs in the trailer. I think there's 3 that I've noticed so far. So maybe we'll have NPCs in wheelchairs. Maybe that's a possibility. In this shot, we have an arrest scene taking place, which just makes the world look and feel alive, with real world events are happening around the city. In Grand Theft Auto 5, whenever you're driving around, yes, there's NPCs walking around, but it doesn't feel like it adds any value to the locations in the game. This is something that looks like Rockstar have, well, beyond fixed. They've made this a key focus for Grand Theft Auto 6. We can also see that the way the police interact with the suspects, like they are pushing them around, there's different ways. You've got people taking statements over on the right hand side. There's different things going on. It's not just police get out of their car and start shooting. This is really cool, and it means that every single interaction and altercation that we visit or drive past will look slightly different, and that's cool. Then we get to a prison shot, which gives us the external view of the prison where Lucia is being held, and we learn that Jason is at the prison to pick up Lucia on her release day. Now this is where we get Lucia's full name, and we also get Jason's full name. Now this actually leaked earlier this year, when one of Game Roll's sources told him about it. The security card then suggests that he has seen Jason before, implying that he's probably done some time himself. Also, Rockstar have put special attention onto the audio for this scene. As you can tell, it's coming through a microphone and speaker, so they've done a really good job of making it sound convincing. Have a listen.
I'm here for Lucia Caminos. She's supposed to be getting out.
What's your name?
Jason Duval.
I seen you here before.
You might have.
Now in this shot, before Jason turns around to see Lucia, we can see his t-shirt has a really realistic looking mark on it from dirt. We can also see that Jason's t-shirt says Leonardo Marine Center, and this heavily implies that Jason's day-to-day work and his livelihood comes from working in the marine sector or working around boats, and you'll see that a lot more throughout the trailer. We can also see that his chain goes underneath the t-shirt. Now if you wear any accessories or jewelry in GTA at the moment, the layers don't usually tend to work out properly, so anything accessory wise always appears externally on your outfit. This is just, once again, another piece of attention to detail from Rockstar. Then of course we see Lucia. This whole scene implies that they knew each other prior, or Jason has to go and pick her up as a favour on behalf of someone else, or there's a mission that involves it. The reason I'm a little bit unsure about this is the way that Jason says hey to Lucia is a little bit awkward. I don't know, maybe it's just been a while.
Hey.
Hey.
Right, then there's this shot, which is where Jason and Lucia are having a wrestling match. And it looks like Lucia's winning. Now, I don't want to get demonetized, but I think this confirms that this game will most likely have some naughty behavior in it. We can also see in this shot that Lucia is wearing an ankle monitor, which is something I spoke about around a year ago, that it's very likely this ankle monitor is a form of in-game geo restriction whilst we play as Lucia. It's a really smart way of limiting us to certain areas on the map at the very beginning of the game. Not sure how they're going to do this, but if they had to try and stop us exploring the whole map in one go, this would be the way to do it. Some other key things to notice about this shot: firstly, Lucia jiggles, good stuff, but also her hair movement just looks insanely good, and this will be the same in every single shot of hair in the trailer, so I won't mention it again. Also, the jewellery on her wrist moves, and also the bed actually moves to where their weight is on the bed, and we can also see indentations in the pillow from where their heads are. There's so many different things going on here with the physics of objects that it's literally impossible to dissect, but you get the idea. The next shot is Lucia and Jason robbing the Sin Frontera National Bank. We can also see in this shot that Lucia's hair is a little bit lighter, further adding some weight that this girl from the trailer 1 was actually Lucia. For some reason people still don't believe it's her, but I guess we will find out when the game releases. We can also see some incredible details in the weapons too, which is something I'm really excited for. We can definitely see Rockstar's evolution in their object and gun, weapon, vehicle design in this trailer. Now in this next shot we can see Jason and Lucia having a slower wrestling match. This really ties back into the whole Bonnie and Clyde inspired parts of the story, and it definitely adds a whole new dynamic to the game. Also the detail in Jason's arms and the chain around his neck has its own physics as well and relies heavily on gravity. As he leans forwards, the chain also moves as well. This is just insane. In this shot we see the first public shot of Jason and Lucia out together as a couple. This comes across as a celebratory drink after a heist and kind of shows the calm before the storm, especially as they're celebrating new beginnings, which, as this is a GTA game, this is always foreshadowing something bad coming. When they clink their bottles together you can actually see the liquid moving around. You can also see condensation on the bottle and the bubbles from the beer actually inside it. This is phenomenal detail. In the next shot we can see a small center console boat with a really realistic looking outboard engine. Now there will be a separate video on boats, so we'll move on for now. The next few frames are this beautiful scenic view overlooking the Keys. We can definitely see the progression from Red Dead Redemption 2, and there's no need to mention the sheer amount of boats. This is such a beautiful shot and probably one of my favorites. We also have ducks in the water as well. Now this next shot is also my favorite. Okay, they're all my favorite. I love the trailer. But we can see that this is Brian's boat works and marina. If I use the rule of Occam's razor, this is Brian, this is his marina, and Jason works with/for him. Now in this shot we can see people loading stuff into the seaplane, and the rain and the lighting just makes things look even more lifelike. The lighting here on this guy's face is absolutely unbelievable. You have to kind of double take and think, hang on, this is a game. We can assume that they're moving money or contraband around at night to reduce the likelihood of detection. So this most likely means that we'll probably have a ton of really cool stealth missions. In this shot we can see people performing community service under the watchful eye of a police officer. But this is actually Lucia. She's wearing a hat for Brian's boat shop, and she has an ankle monitor, and these trainers appear on Lucia later in the trailer, and that high-vis jacket also appears again a bit later on. It's most likely that Lucia has to finish her community service before the ankle monitor comes off. Now I've got to say that I reckon that Lucia probably got herself into prison on purpose and got herself into community service on purpose. And just hear me out. Why is she wearing sunglasses and a hat and she's changed her hair at night? Like, well, she's doing community service at night and she's done all this to conceal her identity a little bit. It all just seems a bit like it's part of a plan. Then we get to see Jason and Lucia's apartment and her pet snake, which is honestly absolutely huge. We can see that this is very grassroots, so this looks like it's towards the start of the game. We can also see throughout the story Lucia wears this necklace that has a boxing glove on it, which looks like it's an important thing to her, and we'll talk about that in a different episode. We then get a look at the happy hour at the local bar, which has a really healthy population density. It doesn't feel empty like it does in Grand Theft Auto 5. This actually looks really fun. And these glasses turned upside down on the bar, the way the light travels through them is just another piece of attention to detail from Rockstar. They put that there intentionally for this trailer just to show us how good this looks. Then we can see Lucia pulling Jason out of the bar, and the hair physics and the jiggle physics on this, they speak for themselves. The next shot appears to be cake on a boat. Cake. Jason and Lucia are on a boat. Oof, it is hot in here. Man, I love boats. This shot is brilliant because throughout this trailer and the last one, we see references to Grand Theft Auto style stuff. Robberies, cars, police chases. But this trailer really shows a breakout from the franchise, where we can actually see people and their dynamics in terms of being a couple. It's honestly really cool to see how Rockstar are going to try and tell a story using a relationship dynamic. The next two shots follow the same vein, with Jason saying that if they're really going to do it, They need to do it right. This nightclub lighting is so hard to pull off when dealing with the limited dynamic range that games present. So Rockstar have absolutely nailed this, and it genuinely looks really impressive. Also, this nightclub is the 919 nightclub that we saw from the first trailer being towed behind that banner. Some other important things to notice about these couple of shots is that the actual movement of Lucia and Jason dancing looks like it was filmed. This doesn't look like a game. This is incredible work. Now this scene is another example of Rockstar listening to the community. Last year there were thousands of theories to the point where I thought it was plausible that Jason was a police officer. It ended up trending on YouTube and on Twitter. And then we have this cutscene where the guy asks this.
Yo, D, this full effect?
I think this might be a bit of a nod to some of that hype that was built up back then. Then in this shot, it's entirely possible that this character is voiced by T-Pain. Now hear me out. There's been so many references to T-Pain being involved with Grand Theft Auto 6, even when he said it himself and then deleted his live stream in which he said it. This character has very similar facial features, so it is possible, but once again, we are heavily down speculation street. Now this shot of Jason and Lucia climbing out a window looks like it's the motel that they were in trailer 1 and of course some parts of this trailer. So it looks like the law caught up with them and they had to escape this motel somehow. The amount of trash and debris on the floor throughout a lot of the scenes in this trailer shows the amount of detail that Rockstar have gone to. Even with cameras that are this far away, we can still see all of the individual bits of detail on the trash on the floor. It's little things like this that make the world feel real, feel alive, feel like a real place that you could go to. Now the next shot appears to be a boat mechanic that potentially works for Brian talking about Jason being in trouble, which then opens up into a police raid shot, which is potentially the aftermath of whatever Jason and Lucia got up to. Now if you remember this shot from trailer 1, I think it's the same shot just from a different angle. Now it is important to remember that of course during development, character outfits and certain scenes and locations will change, and looking how different this trailer is from the last trailer, it could very well be the same scene, but just a few things have changed. On this character, you can really see the kind of sunburn and the fade of the tattoo. This aged tattoo look makes things look ultra realistic. A lot of games make tattoos far too bold so they look too fresh, and it doesn't look natural at all. It's actually something that's really hard to get right. So Rockstar have absolutely nailed this. And the flashlight on the front of this gun also looks awesome. Now this guy looks like he's one of the main antagonists. As Jason and Lucia get more well known and their crimes become more outlandish throughout their story, it looks like this is the guy they're up against. Now there's been many different theories of who they're up against, and we'll talk about that in a different video, but this guy just has main character energy. Now in this shot, once again, the lighting is absolutely nuts, but more importantly, who is the police officer talking to? Now I've seen some theories saying that the guy the police officer's talking to is Jason, but I do believe it's more likely that maybe the guy on the left, whose arm we can just see, that does look like Jason's arm. So maybe Jason does have some involvement with the police. Who knows? This shot of Jason shooting out the car is really telling. We can see the detail in the paintwork and the detail in his arms. But also these gunshots are genuinely so much more impressive than anything we saw even in Red Dead Redemption 2. And this shot is also pretty interesting too, as we can see the Metro mover from the GTA 6 leaks back in 2022. But we can also see a character that we haven't really been introduced to formally yet. Real Dimes, who have their own backstory which we'll get into in a separate video. In this shot we can see some of Rockstar's insane animation work, then we can see some awesome hand-to-hand combat mechanics which we haven't seen in a GTA game yet. We can also notice a car burnt out in the background. Now this is quite interesting because it looks like the car's actually been burnt. In GTA 5 when a car burns it still has an interior and stuff, so maybe in GTA 6 everything properly burns. And by the way, this kickboxing shot, if you've seen the videos of Manny Perez, the person that we believe is voicing Lucia, if you've seen the videos of her kickboxing, it's pretty much 1-to-1. I'm now more certain now than ever that it's definitely Manny Perez who is the actor for Lucia. Then we go to a shot inside Jason and Lucia's house, and we couldn't really see it properly earlier, but it looks like they're now having renovation work being done to it. We can see plasterboard walls, new framing, but suggests that maybe we'll be able to renovate and modify our properties in the game, or potentially their property was damaged and the rebuild starts automatically, and this is something that we don't get involved in. There is wooden framing in the original shot, but it was really hard to see as much detail in the kind of like destructive element of the building from those first shots. So we're probably going to either have to wait for another trailer or till we get the game itself. Now in this next shot we can see Gowhorn International on Lucia's top, which may be a university in Port Gowhorn, maybe. The top looks to be quite aged as well, the sort of thing that you'd keep when graduating and then put on when you're just chilling. I don't know. Now this shot with the grenade launcher is our first proper look into a few things. Firstly, military vehicles, but secondly, the explosions, which, let's be honest, look absolutely mental. I've never seen anything quite like this in a game before. However, I will say that Mind's Eye's explosions that we've seen in their trailers do look very good, so. In the next shot, we can see Jason and Dre reacting to something on Dre's phone, probably a reference to some of the mad social media stuff we'll be seeing in the game. We also see a sports team, the Manatees, and we can also see on the right hand side, a good boy sat in the background. If you've got this far in the video, please make sure you comment, pet that dog. This next shot is absolutely mental. This is Lucia jumping out of the landing gear bay of a jet. The action in this game is going to be a whole different level above anything we've seen before, but we can also see some actual attention to detail in some more nerdier things that other games developers might not really care about. So if we look at, for example, at the landing gear of the plane, this literally could be a photo of landing gear of a plane. The amount of attention to detail they must have gone to get this spot on is really impressive, and I have a million questions for the developers at Rockstar. Right, this next shot is important, so let's talk about it. We can see them dragging a safe around the streets, which is obviously heavily inspired by the Fast and Furious movie franchise. Now, some time ago, I made a video that this thing would be in the game, and that video was actually taken down by Take-Two Interactive, despite not showing any footage of it, just simply merely talking about it with some Grand Theft Auto 5 footage in the background, some gameplay. Now, this takedown from Take-Two Interactive was actually illegal, and they later restored the video. But whilst the video was down, I posted a video explaining that the video was probably taken down because the information in my video was correct. Now, of course, I got an absolute ton of backlash for this. People were saying that I was lying about an inside source. People were saying that the information was incorrect. Well, hopefully this adds some validity to what I was saying. The scene is here in broad daylight, well, actually nighttime, but it's here, it's in the game. But yeah, this shot looks absolutely incredible. The sparks from the safe, the physics of the safe, and the way it pulls the rear of the car around. I love everything about this. It's so good. Now this shot is just amazing as well, as it really shows how much Jason and Lucia love wrestling. Like, I reckon they're big WWE fans. Like, I mean, let me know what you think down below. His name is Jason Cena. The next shot is a social media clip, and almost all of the first trailer appears to be focused around social media, and the social media from trailer 1 appears to be based on a form of strangers and freaks system. Maybe that's how we'll encounter the strangers and freaks, I don't know, but it seems like it was a whole dynamic that was focused on in trailer 1. Now in trailer 2, there's really not many references to social media at all. We have influencers, we have a couple of shots, we have people reacting to videos, but that's really it for this trailer. Now, to all of my fellow car lovers, this shot is fire. We'll of course break this down in the vehicles video that I'll be doing dedicated to all the vehicles we can see in the game, but for now, let's just admire how much stuff is going on. We have insane chariot spikes on the wheels of this car, which shows that Rockstar are really going to be paying a lot of attention to modifications. We have people hanging out of cars, we have people taking selfies and photos, we have people up on the roof terraces. This place looks alive. And the same goes for at night. We have people dancing everywhere. This kind of looks a bit like the Malibu Club, but modernized. So maybe they're bringing it back? Who really knows, but it is an iconic location from Vice City. The detail is obviously phenomenal. I do think that this could be the Malibu Club because of the concrete palm tree sculptures closely resembling the Malibu logo. Now in the next shot, we have the club from trailer 1 in more detail. The graphics have got so much better in such a short period of time. It really does make you think that in a year's time, even if they make a 1% increase on this, that's already more than any of us could have ever have guessed or even asked for. In the next shot, we have the living room coffee table in Jason and Lucia's apartment. Now on the left we have what appears to be Michael's yacht from GTA 5. It was of course stolen and clearly ended up in Leonida. If it's not Michael's yacht, I'll be very surprised as it has the exact same paint job. We can also see condensation on the beer and bubbles floating up towards the top, and also the light from the TV, the way it diffracts through the top of the beer bottle. We can also see the beer that's been open and left on the table for a while doesn't have the condensation, but the fresh cold beer does, meaning that the fresher a drink is, the more condensation and the colder the drink will be. That is just insane levels of detail. I know I'm saying insane a lot, but there's no other words for this stuff. Well, they're probably, shut up. We can also see some DIY equipment in the background for the house renovations. And we also have something that looks like a PS5 with a PS4 controller on the table. Obviously not one-to-one, but it's still very close resemblance. But then of course have Phil Cassidy's ammunition on the TV. As Phil Cassidy would probably be likely deceased by now, this is probably Phil Cassidy's son inheriting the family business. And then we can see birds will actually land on the deck outside and of course fly away, and of course we have that bridge in the distance, which is the bridge that goes across the keys. Then we can see Lucia coming home from doing community service, with Jason having a little snooze. What a vibe. In the next shot we can see a Buzzard helicopter flying over the Everglades chasing an airboat. This screams Red Dead Redemption, but so much more evolved. Everything from the foliage to the blades of grass, the water, and the way that the water interacts with the boats, everything is just so much more progressed from 2018. I'm genuinely very impressed by this. Now the next shot is an awesome shot of Jason and Lucia on a jet ski, but I'm more interested in the background shot. We can see people socializing in the boat, on the boat, and around the boat. This lends itself to the fact that boats will probably have explorable interiors. Rockstar have also really paid attention to the boat colour schemes. This silver colour is often seen on Pershing yachts, and it's an amazing piece of attention to detail. A bit later in the shot we also have another boat in the background, which is a hybrid of a Regal Commodore and a Sea Ray, or a Quicksilver. We know how Rockstar like to mix and match between different vehicles to create their own unique brands. Now in this shot here there's not much to say other than planes sound a hell of a lot better now. The next shot is a big leap into the back of a truck to steal a vehicle. Yes, we can commit Grand Theft Auto and Grand Theft Auto. Something that Swagter picked up on is that this leap of faith into the truck is replicated in the next scene as a form of leap of faith into Jason's arms. This is a really smart symbolism and it's a really nice touch from Rockstar. This shot is also in the motel that we saw in the 2022 leaks and of course in trailer 1 when we hear the famous line, "Trust." Then in this shot we're shooting at a helicopter from a boat, which let's be real, is just cool. But we can also see on the side of the helicopter it says VICE.CLO, which is our first introduction to a new police force, and it's referenced again in the next shot. In this shot we can see we're in Port Gowhorn, but also there's a few other listed counties. VICE.CLO again, Mariana County, and more videos will be coming on these soon. We can also see that there's new shooting mechanics such as leaning out of vehicles and potentially jumping to other vehicles, as we can see in this shot. Now this shot here appears to be back at Brian's, where in the background we can see someone working on a boat with sparks flying off it. It's locations like this that I'm just really looking forward to exploring. However, I will say they are welding the bottom of a fiberglass boat and sparks are coming off the bottom of fiberglass. I'm just saying. This shot driving off into the sunset is the perfect way to close off the trailer. It looks incredible and look, it's a man on a bike. Now the entirety of this trailer was shot on the PlayStation 5. It doesn't say Pro, so I'm going to assume it's the standard PlayStation 5, which begs the question, will it look any better on a PS5 Pro? And the answer is, it doesn't matter. This already looks amazing enough, and the truth is, unless you've got a $2,000 monitor that can output a full OLED picture on the highest resolution possible, you're not gonna see the benefits. Considering this was all shot on what potentially could have been a standard PS5, you're not gonna need anything better than that at all. Now I will be doing videos over the next few days, weeks and months going into every little detail because that's why you're all here. But I'm going to break things down into more manageable categories to make it a bit easier to dissect and break apart. Also, I don't plan on making a 5-hour video. So thank you all so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy, please make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure you go and check out private internet access in the link down below. This will save you 83% off and 4 months completely free. month, which is about $2.03 a month.
New beginnings on the cusp. Not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good karma is a must. Still my shooter in the cut. I was stuck inside a rut. Played the game, made bank, moved G. Anything to get a buck. You won't find me in the club.